Okay, let's unpack this. If you thought things in Los Angeles could possibly settle down, well, you were definitely mistaken.
Not a chance. Not with this new development.
Right. Today, we are doing a real deep dive into something pretty unexpected, a connection nobody really saw coming. But when you look closer, it's rooted in some very specific shared trauma.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the explosive potential between Taylor Hayes and Deacon Sharp.
What's fascinating here is this isn't just, throwing two characters together for a new romance. It feels much more strategic than that.
How so?
Well, it's like an alliance, almost, built right on the ruins of two really profound, separate betrayals they've both just suffered.
Okay, yeah. And the stakes involved, they seem huge.
Oh, immense. Because this pairing, Taylor and Deacon, it directly messes with the equilibrium of two of the show's most, let's say, volatile players.
Ridge Forrester, for one.
Definitely Ridge, who we know is just pathologically possessive when it comes to
Yep,
Taylor.
always has been.
And then there's Sheila Carter, who sees Deacon as maybe her absolute last chance at some kind of stability.
That's the critical setup right there. So our sources, they're tracking that initial spark, yeah, but they're also really mapping out the psychological reasons behind it. Why this connection? Why now?
And both Taylor and Deacon, I mean, they're veterans of emotional warfare, aren't they? They've been through the ringer.
Repeatedly, Taylor's just reeling again from Ridge doing what Ridge does, running back to Brooke again.
Yep, that old song and dance.
And Deacon, he's grappling with this massive revelation, finding out Sheila was hiding these huge, potentially deadly secrets from him.
Monumental secrets. Life-altering stuff.
So the central question we're really digging into for you, the listener, is this. Is this connection between Taylor and Deacon, is it a genuine new start, a real path forward?
Or is it more strategic? Maybe even a bit vengeful? A temporary alliance built, entirely on that shared feeling of wanting to get back at their exes. That sweet, sweet taste of mutual revenge.
That's the million-dollar question.
And we really have to stress the history here. The sheer gravity of it. This pairing, it instantly brings decades of conflict bubbling right back to the surface.
You mean the Sheila-Taylor history specifically?
Absolutely. The literal violence. Sheila shooting Taylor. An act that cost Taylor years of her life, years away from her kids. That's not something you just forget.
No way. That's foundational trauma.
And then you layer in Ridge's infamous controlling behavior, how he reacts whenever Taylor or Brooke even thinks about dating someone else he doesn't approve of.
Right. So the material suggests this isn't just about Taylor maybe finding a new guy. It's about potentially shifting the entire power dynamic of the show, shaking things up fundamentally.
Exactly. Shifting the tectonic plates, as you said earlier. So to really grasp the potential for chaos here, we absolutely have to start where this immediate crisis began, at Deacon's breaking point.
Okay, so the immediate trigger. The thing that kicks this whole new storyline off is the fallout from finding out Luna Nozawa is alive.
Yes. And for Deacon, this wasn't just a surprise. The source material uses the word disgusted. He was absolutely disgusted.
That's a strong word. Disgusted why, exactly?
Because Luna is alive, and his wife, Sheila Carter, knew it. She knew the truth.
Yeah.
Deliberately kept it secret from him.
Wow. So it wasn't just, oops, I forgot to mention, it was an active concealment.
Active concealment of something massive. And for Deacon, that just shattered the trust they'd managed somehow to rebuild. It undermined everything.
It wasn't just an omission, like you said. It feels more like a character test, one that Sheila just completely failed in Deacon's eyes.
That's a great way to put it. Because Deacon, he's spent years trying to turn his life around, hasn't he? Trying to prove he's a decent, reliable guy, especially for Hope, for his family.
He really has worked at it.
And he took this huge chance on Sheila, believing she might have actually changed, put her past behind her.
He wanted to believe it.
So for her to hide this huge, life-altering truth, the fact that the person he thought killed his friends was actually alive all along, it just destroyed his belief in her and their entire relationship.
Yeah, the source notes are pretty blunt. He cannot even look at Sheila right now.
Right. That says everything about how deep that revulsion goes.
Yeah.
It's immediate. It's visceral.
And here's where, the psychological part of the betrayal gets really complex and interesting. It wasn't just the secret itself that sent Deacon running straight to Taylor's office for help.
No, it was more than that.
It was Sheila's reaction when the truth about Luna came out. When everyone found out she was alive.
Exactly. The source material points to this devastating emotional disconnect between them at that moment.
What was Sheila's reaction described as?
Happy. Relieved. Sheila was apparently happy and relieved that Luna was alive.
Okay, and the surface, maybe relief someone wasn't killed seems normal, but...
But for Deacon, given the context, it was the exact opposite of what he needed or wanted to see from his wife. He saw her relief as, like, siding with Luna.
The person he blames for his friends' deaths.
Yes. Siding with the killer as he sees it, instead of supporting him, her husband. Instead of honoring his feelings, his grief, his loss. That's the core of the offense for him. It's about loyalty, or the lack of it.
And we really need to sit with that. Deacon's specific reaction here. He told Taylor how heartbroken he still is over his friends Tom Starr and Hollis.
He misses them terribly.
Yeah, and the source material reminds us, these weren't just random people. Tom had really worked hard to rebuild his life. Hollis was this young guy, an aspiring actor with big dreams. Their deaths hit Deacon hard.
Very hard. They represented hope, maybe? People trying to make it like him.
So for Sheila to seem almost happy about Luna being alive, or at least relieved, to Deacon, it felt like she was just disregarding their memory, disregarding the huge impact their loss had on him.
Which, by extension, felt like she was disregarding him. His pain, his experience. It's the ultimate failure of loyalty from his perspective.
He committed to her, right? He took that leap of faith, believing she could actually prioritize their future, maybe put her destructive nature aside.
You really did.
Yeah.
So when he sees her, in his view, prioritizing Luna's well-being over validating his grief for Tom and Hollis, it's like the mask slips.
He sees the old Sheila.
Or maybe just sees that her loyalty isn't really to him.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just doesn't have that capacity for loyalty he needs. And that's why the fallout is so intense.
He told Taylor straight up, didn't he, that he's lost all faith, all trust in Sheila.
Completely.
Yeah.
And he's questioning everything, wondering aloud if he's actually crazy for being with Sheila at all.
And that question, that desperate need for someone else to say, no, you're not crazy, she is the problem. That's the precise moment that opens the door wide open for Taylor.
Perfectly timed.
He's not just looking for advice, he's looking for validation, that his gut feeling about Sheila, that she's toxic, that she's untrustworthy, is actually correct.
And who better to give that validation than Taylor Hayes?
Exactly. A psychiatrist, a primary victim of Sheila's past violence, and someone who is also fresh off her own heartbreak, thanks to Ridge. She gets it from all angles.
She's uniquely positioned. She understands the trauma connected to both Ridge and Sheila. So when Deacon runs to her office in this state, she has incredible influence in that vulnerable moment.
It's the absolute perfect person for Deacon to turn to, and the absolute worst person for Sheila's marriage.
Couldn't be worse for Sheila. This crisis sends Deacon running, and he runs straight into the arms, metaphorically speaking, of the one woman who can understand his pain and confirm his darkest feels about the woman he married.
Okay, so Deacon arrives at Taylor's just completely devastated, and her response is immediate empathy, right? Almost clinical, but also personal.
Instantly. The source material suggests that shift, from just doctor-patient to something. More, it started right away. She validates his feelings immediately. Tells him she knows exactly how he feels.
And she shares her own pain too, doesn't she? Saying her heart is breaking even today right now.
Yes. That mutual sharing, that commiseration, it's incredibly powerful. It sort of fast-tracks their connection beyond just professional advice. It makes it personal, fast.
And then comes the advice, which felt very loaded.
Exceptionally loaded. She tells Deacon, you can't change someone's nature.
Now, okay, on one level, that's solid advice about Sheila Carter. We all know her nature.
Right. Her inherent destructiveness.
Yeah.
It's good advice for Deacon regarding Sheila.
But the subtext there, you just can't ignore it, can you?
Absolutely not. We have to unpack that. Taylor is speaking from decades, literal decades, of her own painful experience, primarily with Ridge Forrester.
She's implicitly advising Deacon, sure, but she's also reminding herself, isn't she?
Totally. Reminding herself that no matter how many times Ridge breaks up with Brooke, makes promises, has weddings, his fundamental nature, his pattern, is to run right back to Brooke, regardless of who gets hurt in the process, including Taylor.
So it's this powerful shared moment. They're both realizing, maybe verbalizing for the first time together, the toxic cycles they've been caught in, believing these people they loved could fundamentally change when maybe they just can't.
It's a recognition of their own, perhaps, foolhardiness in hoping for change that was never really possible.
But the connection didn't stop there, did it? Taylor didn't just give advice. She shared her own current worries.
Right. She opened up about her own vulnerabilities, specifically about her daughter, Steffi Forrester.
What was the concern?
She told Deacon she was worried about how Steffi would react to the news that Luna is alive. given their dark history.
Okay. This is where it shifts again, isn't it? Into something like a parental alliance.
Feels like it. Because we have to remember the context the sources give us here. Luna apparently tried to kill Steffi, not just once.
The source says at least twice.
At least twice. So Taylor knows Steffi is living with the trauma, the anxiety from those attempts, sharing that specific, really personal fear with Deacon, who's obviously had his own struggles as a parent.
Yeah, that builds a different kind of trust, doesn't it? It's beyond just commiserating about exes. It's shared parental stress.
Exactly. So the foundation they're building, it's multi-layered now. They're bonding over being betrayed by their partners, and they're bonding over the anxieties those toxic relationships create for their kids, their families.
It's becoming a much more holistic connection, not just flirting or venting.
Definitely not just flirting. And the proof isn't just, reading between the lines. It's right there in what they said.
How so?
Taylor was really explicit. She told Deacon she was glad he came to see her, that she's always happy to talk to him, which is nice, supportive.
Standard therapist talk, maybe?
Could be. But then she goes further. The really telling moment, this signal that this is moving forward, is her next step.
What did she do?
She actively encouraged him to come back soon, to talk more. And he agreed.
So not a one-off therapy session or venting session.
No, this signals intention. A plan to spend more time together. They're consciously choosing to deepen this contact, moving quickly towards a sustained personal relationship, not just professional.
Okay, so let's talk about the appeal. For Taylor, why Deacon? He's got a past, a complicated history. He's not exactly the Forrester type.
And maybe that's part of the appeal. But the source material points to a very clear contrast with Ridge. Deacon has genuinely worked to become a decent guy.
He has changed, hasn't he?
He seems to have. He's reformed, he's stabilized his life, found success with the restaurant, and critically, the sources characterize him now as extremely loyal.
Loyalty, after decades with Ridge.
Exactly. After decades of emotional whiplash with Ridge, a man whose loyalty seems situational at best. Doesn't extremely loyal sound like the most attractive quality imaginable to someone like Taylor?
It would have to. Stability, commitment, things Ridge never really gave her consistently.
Right. And Deacon, because he fought so hard for his own redemption, he probably understands commitment in a way Ridge never has. So that shift from therapist to friend and maybe towards romance, it feels compelling because Deacon potentially offers Taylor everything Ridge always withheld.
It makes sense. But knowing Taylor and knowing the show, could there be another layer here, a little bit of mischief?
It's certainly possible. A secondary motivation, perhaps.
Which brings us straight to the chaos factor. And that means talking about Ridge.
Right. So if the first couple of sections were about the internal reasons Taylor and Deacon are connecting, this next part is all about the external fireworks, the consequences.
Starting with Ridge. And this is something Taylor absolutely understands, right? She knows how he'll react.
Oh, she knows. She might even be banking on it, frankly. This is the Ridge factor.
Taylor knows 100% that Ridge can't stand Deacon. He despises him.
Loathes him. Always has.
So the sources suggest that knowing a relationship with Deacon would drive Ridge absolutely bonkers. That's actually part of the appeal for Taylor.
It could be. A little bit mischievous, like you said. A reason to get closer to Deacon just to rub Ridge the wrong way, just for the heck of it.
Maybe a little emotional payback? For all the times Ridge chose Brooke, humiliated her, maybe even, dare I say, therapeutic payback.
Could be. And we know exactly how Ridge is going to react, don't we? Because if there's one thing Ridge is, it's predictable when it comes to controlling the women in his life.
Painfully predictable.
The source material is crystal clear. Ridge is predicted to march right over and try to convince Taylor not to get involved with Deacon. He'll revert right back to his classic possessive, controlling behavior.
Even though he's married to Brooke now.
Doesn't matter. That's never stopped him before. His possessiveness isn't about commitment. It's about control.
Okay, let's dive into that historical parallel the source material brings up, because it really is the perfect blueprint for what we expect him to do.
It is. We're talking about Ridge's reaction years ago when Brooke started dating Nick Marone.
Oh, I remember that. Intense.
Super intense. The source reminds us, even though Ridge had broken up with Brooke at the time and was actually with Taylor, his other ex.
The irony.
Right. He still went over and ranted at Brooke, insisted she could date any man she wanted. Just not Nick.
Just not Nick. That possessiveness, even when they weren't together.
That pattern is crucial to understanding him. Why was Nick such a trigger?
Well, Nick represented something different, didn't he? Stability. Someone outside the Forrester bubble.
Exactly. Stability, yes. But also, critically, Nick was a man who could have genuinely pulled Brooke out of Ridge's orbit for good. Ridge saw him as a real rival, not just for her affection, but maybe more importantly for her attention, her availability.
He felt entitled to her choices, even when they weren't together, wanted to keep her in limbo.
Precisely. Keep his options open. So if we take that exact pattern, that Nick Marone playbook, and apply it to Deacon now.
Deacon is the new Nick Marone.
He absolutely is. Deacon represents stability, loyalty, qualities that can genuinely pull Taylor out of that endless Ridgebrook gravitational pull. Forever.
And Ridge would see that as a threat.
A massive threat. A threat to his ability to circle back to Taylor whenever things inevitably go south with Brooke again, which they always do.
So we can expect the same script.
We can expect him to pull the exact same garbage, as the source puts it, with Taylor. You can date anybody you want, Taylor, just not Deacon.
And it's not about protecting Taylor, is it?
Not at all. It's about protecting his options, his fallback plan. If Taylor is happy, settled with a decent, loyal guy like Deacon, she's no longer available as Ridge's reliable backup.
He can't stand that loss of control. He needs the women in his orbit to remain perpetually available, even if he's not choosing them right now.
Demands it, really.
And maybe that's precisely why Taylor might actually go through with this. By choosing Deacon, she's deliberately picking someone who embodies everything Ridge dislikes.
A former criminal, albeit reformed, someone Ridge looks down on. A rival.
So Taylor pursuing Deacon, it's like this powerful, unspoken statement. I'm done. I'm done letting you dictate my emotional life, even after we're over.
It's Taylor, finally, maybe, choosing herself, prioritizing her own potential happiness over Ridge's comfort or control.
And if the side effect is watching Ridge have a predictable, controlling meltdown.
All the better. For years, Taylor's self-worth has been so tragically tied to whether Ridge chooses her or Brooke. Dating Deacon is like planting a flag, choosing a life totally independent of Forrester validation or approval.
It really could be confirmation that she's finally putting her own happiness first, even if it guarantees Ridge's outrage.
Which it absolutely will.
Okay, so Ridge's outrage is predictable chaos. But Sheila Carter's reaction, that feels like a whole different level. A guaranteed Category 5 hurricane is coming.
Oh, absolutely. If Ridge is predictably possessive, Sheila is predictably and violently volatile, especially when backed into a corner.
And the spoilers indicate she feels extremely backed into a corner right now. She's described as desperate to hold her marriage together.
She has every single reason to be desperate. She knows, deep down, she cannot afford to lose Deacon.
Why is he so uniquely crucial to her?
We have to emphasize this. The source material calls Deacon 1 in a million for her. Think about what that actually means in Sheila's world.
Not many people lining up to marry Sheila Carter.
Exactly. In her incredibly limited pool of potential partners, Deacon might literally be the only one. He's the only person, maybe ever, who was willing to accept her, marry her, try to build some semblance of a normal life with her, 8 psycho toes and all.
Right. He represents her shot at legitimacy, at normalcy, a stable domestic life she's probably craved in her own twisted way.
It's her last best chance. If she loses Deacon, she loses everything she's clawed her way towards recently. She goes back to being the outcast, the pariah, completely isolated, maybe even hunted again.
So the stakes for her are existential almost.
Absolutely. Which means if she finds out Deacon is spending more and more time with Taylor Hayes.
Taylor, the ultimate symbol of the life Sheila can never really have. The respectable doctor, the Forrester matriarch.
The woman who embodies everything Sheila isn't, and probably resents. If Sheila finds out Deacon is turning to her, she is inevitably going to go bat-crap crazy.
That phrasing feels accurate for Sheila.
We are predicted to see a full regression. Sheila reverting completely back to her old, wicked, crazy ways, fueled by pure desperation, jealousy, and rage.
And this regression is especially dangerous because of the history, the specific violent history between Taylor and Sheila.
We cannot gloss over this.
Yeah.
It's critical context. Taylor hates Sheila.
Yeah.
And it's not petty hatred. It's entirely justified.
Because Sheila shot her point blank.
Yes. And that wasn't a minor incident. People thought Taylor was dead. It cost her years away from her family, from her children growing up. That's a wound that never fully heals.
So that trauma is always simmering beneath the surface for Taylor.
And Sheila knows it. Sheila knows Taylor despises her, has the moral high ground, and carries those deep emotional scars from her actions. Any perceived threat from Taylor now will be massively amplified by Sheila's awareness of that history.
It guarantees an explosion, doesn't it? Probably far more dangerous than anything Ridge might do.
Way more dangerous. Taylor isn't just some new romantic rival for Deacon's affection. She's the living, breathing embodiment of Sheila's past crimes and failures, the ultimate reminder of who Sheila really is.
So the predicted scenario, according to the sources, what might Sheila actually do?
It sounds intense. The prediction is that Sheila might threaten Taylor, or even get physical with her as that desperation peaks.
Oh, wow.
She'll see Taylor as the one person standing between her and that fragile dream of a normal life with Deacon, the obstacle that must be removed.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. The potential outcome of that aggression.
Yes, the brilliant, beautiful irony of how this might play out. If Sheila does lash out, if she threatens or attacks Taylor,
What's the prediction?
the prediction is that this violence, this aggression from Sheila, would likely push Deacon straight into protective mode.
Ah, so instead of scaring him back to her?
Exactly. Instead of drawing Deacon back to Sheila out of fear or maybe some twisted sense of obligation, Sheila's fury would almost certainly push Deacon closer to Taylor.
That is the ultimate self-sabotage for Sheila, isn't it?
Completely. Deacon, who is genuinely trying to be this decent guy now, would see Taylor not just as someone who understands him, but as an innocent victim, someone he needs to shield.
Shield from the very person who just betrayed him so profoundly with the Luna secret.
Precisely. This protective impulse, it gives Deacon the perfect moral justification he might need to finally, fully cut ties with Sheila and commit to protecting Taylor.
It paves a clear path right towards solidifying their romance. High stakes, but clear.
Taylor gets the protector she probably deserves after dealing with Ridge. And Deacon gets to prove his redemption is real by defending an innocent person from his own volatile ex-wife. It works on every level except for Sheila's.
Okay, so we've mapped out the chaos from Ridge, the fury from Sheila. But there's a third major player whose reaction is predicted to be, well, surprising.
A genuine curveball in all this. We need to talk about Ridge's current wife, Brooke Logan.
Right, because despite decades of rivalry, animosity, fighting over Ridge, the source material suggests Brooke might actually be cheering for this Taylor-Deacon pairing.
It sounds completely counterintuitive at first, given their history, fighting over the same man for 30 years.
But when you break down Brooke's likely motivations, it suddenly makes perfect pragmatic sense. It's almost strategic brilliance on her part.
Brooke Logan is nothing if not a long-game strategist when it comes to protecting her interests. The sources suggest she might think Taylor and Deacon are a great idea and could actively throw her support behind it.
Why? What's in it for Brooke?
Purely pragmatic self-interest. The analysis points to 3 core motivations for Brooke, all centered around securing her own life and happiness.
Okay, what's number 1?
First, and most immediate, a Taylor-Deacon pairing effectively gets Sheila Carter out of Deacon's life. And Brooke knows how dangerous and volatile Sheila is.
She sees Sheila as a threat to everyone.
To the entire Logan Forester ecosystem, yeah. If Taylor can successfully, absorb Deacon's attention and affection, Sheila gets sidelined. Neutralized, maybe? Yeah. That's a huge win for everyone's safety in Brooke's book.
Okay, that makes sense. Motivation number 2.
That flows directly from the first one, and it's all about family. Getting Sheila out of Deacon's life also means getting Sheila further away from Hope and Beth.
Ah, the protective mother and grandmother instincts kick in.
Paramount for Brooke. Always have been. A stable Deacon, free from Sheila's influence, is inherently better for her daughter Hope's well-being. It just creates a safer environment for her family. Another big win.
Okay, 2 solid reasons. What's the third and maybe the biggest one for Brooke personally?
This is arguably the most critical for Brooke's own peace of mind. It locks down Ridge. It secures her marriage.
How so?
Think about it. If Taylor is truly happy, stable, settled down with Deacon, she's far less likely to remain emotionally available to Ridge, or even interested in revisiting that merry-go-round with him.
The perpetual rival is neutralized. The other woman threat is gone.
Exactly. Taylor, who has always been the biggest, most persistent threat to Brooke's relationship with Ridge, would be permanently occupied, off the market.
Wow, so Brooke basically solves 2 of her biggest long-standing problems in one go.
Precisely. She neutralizes the physical threat of Sheila Carter and the emotional threat of Taylor Hayes potentially circling back to Ridge.
It's a genius win-win for Brooke. She gets to solidify her position as Ridge's one and only, while simultaneously looking like a supportive friend to Taylor.
Masterful, really. And the groundwork for this support, it was already laid. The sources point back to that recent conversation, that moment of fateful foreshadowing, where Brooke actually told Taylor that fate might drop a new man in her lap.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
So that comment proves Brooke isn't just passively accepting Taylor moving on from Ridge, she's actively rooting for it, probably anticipating the stability it'll bring to her own life and marriage.
Incredible. So we have the full spectrum. Ridge's possessive chaos, Sheila's psychotic fury, and Brooke's quiet strategic endorsement.
And all these external pressures, ironically, might just serve to push Taylor and Deacon even closer together, cementing that bond formed in their shared heartbreak.
So let's pull back a bit. What does this whole complex, layered situation really mean? For the characters, for the show moving forward, we've looked at the mix of motivations here.
It's a potent mix. Genuine connection, shared grief, yes, but also maybe loyalty, a desire for stability, and definitely that undercurrent of revenge or payback.
Right. The trigger was Deacon's pain over the Luna reveal, that betrayal. But the foundation seems to be this shared history of being constantly let down by Ridge and Sheila.
Over and over again.
And what really stands out to me, thinking about Taylor's journey, is the significance of her potentially choosing Deacon now, choosing the guy who has genuinely, as the sources say, turned into a decent guy.
She's choosing reliability, perhaps, over the glamour or status associated with Ridge. Choosing substance over style, maybe.
Could be. So if we connect that to the bigger picture, their character arcs, what's the likely outcome? Does this have to be a full-blown romance?
Well, the outcome is still uncertain, isn't it? It could progress to a lasting romance. Or it could solidify into just a really strong, supportive friendship built on that deep mutual understanding, that commiseration.
Either way, the bond itself is important.
Critically important. For both of them, it seems like a mechanism, a way to finally process feeling so betrayed and rejected by Ridge and Sheila. It gives them permission to actually look forward, instead of constantly looking over their shoulders, waiting for the next hurt.
Okay, but that potential success, Taylor finding stability, maybe even happiness, that brings us to a big concern. The meta-discussion about the show's storytelling patterns.
Yes, we have to address this, because the source material explicitly highlights this worry. Is the creator, Brad Bell, simply moving Taylor out of one tired old love triangle?
Her, Ridge, and Brooke. The triangle that's defined the show for decades.
Exactly. Is he just moving her out of that triangle only to drop her smack dab into a new love triangle? Her, Deacon, and Sheila.
Right. And that raises a huge question about whether this is genuine character development for Taylor or just narrative recycling, swapping one rival for another.
If Taylor leaves the endless conflict with Brooke over Ridge, only to immediately find herself in conflict with the dangerously volatile, psychotic Sheila Carter over Deacon, have we really seen any progress for her character?
It feels like. Not really. We've established Taylor is seeking loyalties, stability, peace, maybe. If she's immediately thrown into a situation where she has to fear for her physical safety or constantly battle Sheila for Deacon's attention.
Then she hasn't actually escaped the destructive cycle at all, has she? She just swapped one exhausting emotional entanglement for arguably a much more physically dangerous one.
It feels like such a potential waste of seeing Taylor finally become independent. For so long, she's been defined by Ridge. Getting involved with Deacon should be her chance to grow, set boundaries, find something healthy.
It should be. But if the immediate storyline is just pitting her against Sheila, which guarantees escalation, probably violence, it suggests her main narrative function is still just to be the third point in a triangle. Doesn't matter which guys are involved.
Is there an alternative, a more hopeful reading?
Well, the hope, I suppose, lies in Deacon himself. If his decent guy status is real, if it holds true, maybe he will break the pattern. By unequivocally choosing Taylor when Sheila inevitably turns violent, by rejecting Sheila completely, decisively, that would protect Taylor from just becoming another pawn in a recycled plot.
A strong, stable Deacon could be the key to actually breaking the triangle pattern for Taylor.
It could be. So the narrative promise here is definitely exciting, new dynamics, fresh drama, but the risk is huge. The risk of falling back into that familiar, frankly exhausting pattern, just with different and potentially more lethal players.
It definitely gives the show a new engine for conflict, but the real test, like you said, is whether Taylor and Deacon are actually allowed to be a supportive couple, finding peace together. Or if Taylor is just immediately forced back into being the damsel in distress or the embattled romantic rival. We'll have to watch and see. #tag outro.
Okay, so just to quickly recap this deep dive based on the source material, The path is opening up for Taylor and Deacon, really driven by Deacon's profound disgust over Sheila's Luna betrayal and Taylor's long-held, maybe finally prioritized, desire for loyalty and stability.
And this new dynamic, it looks strategically poised to trigger Ridge's all-too-predictable possessive meltdown.
Yep. And even more dangerously, to unleash Sheila's completely unhinged fury.
While also, ironically, getting a quiet thumbs up from Brooke Logan, who sees nothing but personal and strategic advantages in this particular pairing.
It's a complex web, which raises an important final question for you, the listener, to consider as you watch this all unfold. We've talked a lot about Ridge's controlling behavior, how it seems to stem from his deep-seated need to keep Taylor available, keep his options open.
Right. His fallback plan.
So, thinking about that, is the only way for Taylor to truly, finally break free from that decades-long toxic Ridgebrook cycle, to deliberately choose someone like Deacon. Someone she knows will provoke Ridge into showing his absolute worst, most possessive colors. Is that the only way to source the issue?
Or does doing that, choosing a partner partly based on the reaction it will cause in Ridge, does that ultimately mean she's still letting Ridge dictate her life? Letting his reactions control her choices, just by proxy, instead of truly moving on based solely on what she wants, independent of him entirely.
That emotional boundary, is she choosing for herself or choosing against Ridge? That's the really fascinating line we'll be watching. Where does true independence begin?